Howdy y'all, it's been a long time since I've done a gardening video, and to be honest, I got like gardening fatigue because it just got hot. It just got crazy. So let's see. Let's talk about some herbs. This is peppermint. It's done well. I started the peppermint in the AeroGarden and then brought cuttings out here and it did pretty well. And I've got this big hunk of basil that I got from the AeroGarden propagated this time that I got from a friend. This is like way old basil, but what you do with the basil plant if you want to propagate it, you cut a piece of it, you stick it in a jar, you let the roots grow out, and then you can actually plant it once the roots are done. So this is a really mature basil plant. It's flowered and everything. So yeah, let's see. Here I have more basil. These guys all around here are basil plants. I'm starting to cut and propagate these and so that I can keep reproducing and have some as we get into fall and winter now. And I'll start cutting these and figuring out ways to preserve them as well. Let's see, this is a hot pepper plant. I'm barely getting those little flower buds there. So, I mean, biggest lesson in my Good Soil Garden project is to to seed start, because in Colorado I have to start seeds because our gardening season is so short in my area. So I've got to sow seeds and start them indoor in March. And this year I did it in April because I didn't make up my mind that I was gonna garden until then. So yeah, let's see. Here is the butterfly garden. Now the cool thing about the butterfly garden is that I started to see things like this, and basically this is the flower, and then this is the flower after it dies, and these are the seeds. So it's gonna be cool because I'm gonna come out here and get as many seeds as I can, but I also know that I won't be able to get them all, so a lot of them are just gonna fall there, and we're gonna have a bigger garden. I will probably do more decorative stuff in here. And my roses, they never got as high as I thought they would. The idea was that they would like go over this archway completely and just be like so stunning. That did not go as planned. Again, one more thing I should have done a little bit earlier on in the season. And I need to figure out how to preserve these roses during the cold season. I think I just cut them down and then take them somewhere warm, which is inside my home. So I need to figure out where I'm gonna put a couple of big roses. Over here in the greenhouse, it's looking pretty empty because I started taking plants out of there. As it was like hotter and hotter, I figured that my tomatoes would do better out here. I still haven't gotten a mature tomato from here. This is the closest. That guy right there. I don't know if it was because I didn't trim enough. So last week I came and I started hacking away because I was like, it's so late in the season that I really want to get some tomatoes. Now what happens with plants is that if you don't trim enough and you're waiting for it to fruit, well, all the energy, the sun, the water, the fertilizer, the nutrients are going into these leaves that aren't producing anything, and then you don't get that energy going into producing, good fruits and veggies. Another thing I brought out of the greenhouse was my poor zucchini plant. Now, all of these shriveled up and burnt away. So I lost like 10 zucchinis, and it didn't occur to me until a certain point that I was able to take it out of the greenhouse and it would be fine. Before, I was worried about the critters eating up the plants, like, just coming out here and doing this, but a lot of them don't like the prickly stuff that's on the zucchini. So what I realized is that these are fine out here. And I also realized that next year when I garden, I'm not gonna take up space with any kind of squash plant. So anything that's pumpkin, zucchini, yellow squash, and even cucumbers, they all have these prickly leaves that critters don't like to touch. So I can just pot a bunch of stuff in these big old pots and have it out here, and it's fine, and it gives me more room in the garden bed, and it gives me more flexibility too. So yeah, I brought these out here, and these 2 zucchinis, the newer ones, are looking a lot better. This is a vertical zucchini. When people talk about growing things vertically, so if I had it in the garden bed, all this long part would sprawl out on the ground, but because I have this tomato cage around it, it's growing upward, and that also is a good space saver. So people who are growing food in small spaces, on balconies, on patios, you can totally do a zucchini in the big pot, the nursery pot, with a tomato cage, and it can be very fruitful. Had I brought that out of the greenhouse sooner, they wouldn't have shriveled up and died, and I probably would have gotten, 10 to 12 or even more zucchini out of that. So I'm a little embarrassed about that. But the whole point of this season of gardening was for me to see what I like growing, to see what went well, to see, how do I like greenhouse versus garden bed? Because I was really worried about hail, and I was really worried about rodents. We didn't have bad hail this season, so I got lucky there. This is a lavender plant, which, oh my gosh, I rub it on my fingers. I smell it. It smells so good. I need to figure out how to dry some of that. Bell peppers. It's rotting at the bottom. Like, what is that? That sucks. That was my first bell pepper. And then there's this one too. So there's that. A lot of this other stuff died off. This yellow bean plant is like growing back. It's coming back to life. You see it died there and it's growing there. Same thing with these green beans. So I should probably learn more about the life cycle of the green beans and whatnot, because there's a lot of cool stuff that like I could probably figure out after figuring out how they regrow and whatnot. And I was gonna try to harvest some of the seeds. Oh shoot, I just flicked them. There's a green bean, there's a yellow bean plant. Okay, baby. And then this is my dried up sunflower. Do you see this poor thing? Oh, it was once a beautiful flower. Well, folks, those are all seeds in there. It's been cool because I've actually seen some birds perch on the flower itself and try to peck out the seeds. That's been pretty neat. So all of these seeds I'm saving for next year, and I'm actually going to put these in the butterfly garden over there and have tons of beautiful sunflowers. There's a grasshopper. This is where I come to get grasshoppers for Allie. This is a parsley strawberry combo. So our strawberries did the best in the greenhouse. These ones did the best. Look at how long these things got. So I also need to figure out, these are supposed to be able to last until next season. Strawberry plants, you can just, keep them and they'll regrow. I will say this, it was cool having the strawberries. My kids liked being able to come out here and pick one every once in a while. And just to see, where our food comes from. This has been a whole, nature and science education for my kids. So it's been really cool for them to see where our food comes from. But the strawberries, we had like 8 plants. And we were only getting strawberries like a couple of times a week. So what I had read previously is that you need 6 strawberry plants per person to like have decent portions of them. So yeah, not fruitful. These cherry tomatoes got tall. So I'm 5'2". They got taller than me. If you're growing in a space where you don't want anything to get that high, you just trim them down. Allie picked some. She picked some prematurely. These cherry tomato plants have been one of like 2 successes of mine. So all 3 of my cherry tomato plants did well. And I got these cool cages, and we probably get just like 10 cherry tomatoes each week, which isn't much, but I throw it like on top of our salads and things like that. And that part has been pretty cool. I think they're gonna start like within the next week. I'm gonna have a lot of them because there's a lot of them there. Oh my goodness, the garden bed. Sorry, this is a long video. I haven't been on in a while. The garden bed. So my poor green beans that were here died off. My pea plants that were here died off. This sage did amazingly well. And this is another herb that like, oh, I could put my fingers on. I smell that sage smell and it's like terrific, right? So yeah. My pumpkin plant starts over here, goes up there, goes all over here, goes over there, and goes all up and down this trellis. I don't know if I'm gonna get a pumpkin though. Like I kept seeing pumpkins, like, you know, they're like real tiny, and I even took pictures of them and posted them on my Instagram. And they're not growing, they're not getting bigger. So yeah. Anywho, let's see, marigolds. Cool thing I found out about marigolds, I came here to check on the tomato plants and I accidentally shook these marigolds, and out of here a bunch of seeds popped out. So if anybody wants marigolds, I'm gonna have a ton. So each flower gives off like this cute little bunch of seeds right here. It's like a lot of them that are in there. So I'm gonna have a ton of marigold seeds. There's probably like a dozen in each little thing. So multiply a dozen by each little marigold flower that you see. I think I overdid it on the marigolds. My beefsteak tomato plants. I did 2 tomato plants. I'm barely, it's August. Allie, please don't do that, baby. I let my kid play with the hose. That might have been a mistake. So yeah, these beefsteak tomato plants, I'm barely starting to get tomatoes. The upsetting thing is that like, so it's September 5th right now. In a few more days, so it was 97 today, and in a couple more days, we're actually, we might get snow on Tuesday. So now I ordered a garden blanket to cover all of this because I'm still hoping to get more tomatoes. It was a lot of work, and gosh dang it, I want my tomatoes. This zucchini plant did really well. So this is, you know, how zucchini would look if you did it in the garden bed. So that takes up a decent amount of space, you know. The vertical growing is actually just really beneficial. There's a zucchini right now. This has been giving me like 1 to 2 a week. Let's see. Oh, I just picked my yellow squash. This guy's doing well with tomatoes now. There's a zucchini over there. Look at it. That plant has not been very fruitful. I've only gotten 1 other zucchini from that. I don't know what happened. And then over there, looking all weird on my trellis, those were supposed to be cucumbers. I planted pickling cucumbers next to, oh my gosh, I forget what kind of cucumber. So the pickling cucumbers are smaller ones, and then like regular sized cucumbers. I planted them next to each other, and I think they cross-pollinated. I think I messed up there. I didn't read about cucumbers cross-pollinating until afterwards. So I got these really weird yellow looking things. So yeah, this is the Good Soil Garden Project. And I'm very happy I did this. For people wanting to do their first gardens, you don't need a garden bed. It doesn't need to cost a ton of money. You can do 1 zucchini plant in a pot with a tomato cage and grow vertically. You can do 1 or 2 tomato or cherry tomato plants, and you know, throw in there some basil, because there's a lot of things that you can do with the tomato basil combination. If you love flowers, do a butterfly garden. Beautiful, it's so pretty. I've been able to teach my girls from it. It's attracted a lot of grasshoppers, and So we've caught grasshoppers, and Allie will hold one and play with it for like 15 minutes. So even that's been nice, just little experiments in nature. But yeah, this has been a cool thing to do, and I'm already starting to plan for next year. So yeah, I'm gonna do this again. A little wiser, a little more experienced, a little better perspective of things. And yeah, I'm gonna do it, and we'll see how that goes. So we'll see what happens if it snows on Tuesday, and then I will have another update. Talk to y'all later. Bye.